I'd like to call this meeting of the Facilities Committee to order at 7:30,
6:30.
6:30. I forgot to set my clock, sorry. Roll call, please.
David Pombo,
Here.
Colin Clements.
Here.
Alvina Kaiser, here. Jimmy LeGrand. Here. Erica Smith Payne.
Here.
Lisa Boulay. Here.
Receiving of public comments, I see none, so we'll move on to facilities use update.
So the first thing in your packet after the agenda is the facility use minutes from the last meeting on March 28th. And that was already presented to the board at a prior board meeting.
Item B, finance report.
That's page 4. It's very similar to the format we've used in the past. So it would be recognizing receipts through April 13th. We have we've got the beginning balance plus the revenue minus the expense to give you the total ending balance incurred to date.
And item C, facility usage reports.
And similar format, pages 5 through 11, by school site, and they include each tier and the number of hours per facility. Heavy use,
Yeah, that seems to be par for the course.
So on the graph for Lammersville Unified, like the school district as a whole, the 11 p.m., the point plot is like almost halfway between 0 and 100. So there were 50 events that, or call it 40 events, because it's not quite there,
right.
that lasted till 11.
I think they were winding down. I'm not quite sure which facility that would be, because we don't have that by the hours here on the usage. Very likely it's a multi-purpose room.
Yeah, so my question is, if things are winding down as late as 11, is that causing issues with
Staffing.
staffing?
During the school year, not so much, so I'm curious, we'll have to check and see if that was the high school, because we do have staff at the high school that work later.
Till midnight.
Okay,
So we'll get that answer.
I know some are gonna last, but
Right.
if we have 50 events,
I think the graph's a little off. I don't think there's anywhere near 50 events that
Okay.
late.
We'll take a look.
all right.
Denied applications. Item 1, Restoration Center, Tier 2B from Mountain House High School.
I was trying to remember the reason for that. We had too much detail on here.
They didn't call back or they didn't ask for any other.
Oh,
I look at Ben to see if he recalls denying this particular application. Restoration Center, Tier 2B for the large and small gyms for July 25th and July 26th. Maybe we couldn't find coverage? I know it's this summer.
School event, that's the reason they denied it.
Yeah, I assume that, oh, this is the end of July.
Yeah,
This is right before we open school. We'll be
Yes.
doing
Oh, that's
district
right.
trainings, and we will
The
be busy with
floors.
our own stuff that last week of July, and we're just like,
Right.
we cannot handle other,
the staff's already returning by then,
and this is
too.
all day on Tuesday and Wednesday. I know already that in multiple other places on our campus, there are district trainings going on, there will be site trainings going on, and I believe there's a freshman orientation on one of these days, so.
Yeah. Thank you.
reimbursement to organizations, Mountain House Little League, $20,
Due to weather conditions.
weather conditions, and I'm not even going to try to pronounce that one, but it's a security deposit refund. Item 5, information and discussion items. Job description update on aquatic director.
So Mr. Miller apologized for not being able to attend today. He did send me highlights of the work that he had said he would go back and check into. He said he reached out to the CSD and offered to work with them to offer public access to the pool. They stated that they would not be ready to do anything until the summer of 2018, and they indicated that they would want a cost-sharing agreement as part of a partnership. But from what we discussed, I don't think that was the direction that we wanted to go in, that we were going to rent it out as a facility use.
No, I don't think that the district wants to go in the direction of spending money for public,
Correct.
public recreation. It's, I don't think a wise use of district funds to spend money on things that aren't district-related.
Correct. And then he
And I don't
mentioned,
think we could do it if we wanted to, but I don't think we want to anyway.
So, point of clarification. So we reached out to the MHCSD, and they indicated that they were not able to
get something up and running for the summer.
with
Plus,
us
I think,
until the summer of 2018.
which would be another year from now.
Right.
Right. So, and
It's
I
just,
know our.
I definitely want to report that in, at the governing board,
Yes.
at the committee level, so.
And they may request a day here and there, so when that happens, the pool may not be ready now. I'm hearing till, did you say August? Did they say August? It's a good thing you're here.
It keeps getting moved back. There's, DSA has to approve the solar panels because DSA has to approve everything for schools. And, we don't really even know whether it's going to be ready
For school,
for water polo use at the beginning of the year. So we were planning on running water polo at the beginning of the year. I'm not sure what's going to happen with that. And it's not a bad thing to figure out our own facility before we start doing heavy community use. And if we have no firm date in the summer that it's going to be open, there's no reason to get everyone's hopes up for that. So.
Thank you. And then he mentioned that.
So, in regards to I don't want to get anyone too excited about the pool, or I don't want to, but that August date may not be set in stone. We may have a workaround available. I'm not going to promise anything here at this committee, but there may be other options. We're very cognizant of the fact we want to get the pool open as soon as possible. So, we may have a workaround with Turner, but I'm not going to go into details now. I don't want to tell you something that's not going to happen, but we're trying very hard to get it open as soon as possible.
I don't think I understand. My understanding of what Principal Faubert said was that the main delay item that was on the critical path was Division of State Architects approval. And for the life of me, I don't know a single workaround to that.
The workaround is that the area where the solar panels are going, it may be possible to separate that from the rest of the pool by some construction fencing.
That would be a workaround.
That's
Okay.
a workaround.
All right.
But like I said, I'm not going to promise
Yeah,
that.
I wouldn't hold
because-
your breath on that one.
Well, I'm just saying is, we're looking at it. We have to talk to the health department and if they would give us a green light to open the pool under one of those circumstances. I'm not going to promise it here, but we are
Understood.
working around it. We talked about it last week at our construction meeting, and we'll continue to keep working on it. But obviously, the goal is to get it open as soon as possible,
Understood, thank you.
so.
And then, let's see, Mr. Miller said agencies in Tracy and Livermore were contacted and shared information about the upcoming pool in Mountain House, and if they would be interested in using it. At this time, without a definitive opening date or numbers of interested persons, no commitment from the Tracy area to use our facility, and Livermore felt it was too far to come over to use. And then he said, at this time, we have no external interest from organizations, and I haven't heard anything, and Rita hasn't heard anything, in renting the pool facility or in offering programs. This may change once we have a definitive opening date for the facility, and only if we promote the availability. The partnership with CSD is suspect in that we would not be in agreement of a cost-sharing agreement. And that concludes his report.
As much as I would like to have the pool available to anybody as soon as possible, to me, it looks like it's on the virtually impossible that anything is likely to happen before at least school starts. And in the long run, that may be a good thing. As Principal Faubert pointed out, it'll give our staff a chance to become familiarized with the pool and how it works and how things, are done with it. And it will give us time to maybe come up with something good and a good opening date for next summer. As much as I was hoping we could figure something out for this summer, it doesn't look like it's
Right.
likely to happen.
What's that?
I don't disagree. I don't want to say, okay, it's not going to be available at all for public use this summer, even though that's the way it's looking. I want to be able to tell the public that we have done our best and will continue to do our best.
Yeah.
But we are subject to the vagaries of DSA approval, of construction limitations, et cetera. So I just don't want us as an organization to say, okay, well, that's it, we're done.
No.
Even though it's looking that way.
And that wasn't the intent of my
Okay.
comment. I was just making it known that the likelihood that something is going to happen before school is looking less and less likely.
Which I agree with, yeah.
Further discussion on the pool or aquatics director? Fall applications window.
I sometimes receive concerns from administration, school site administration, about making the facilities available for indoor use before they put their dates on the calendar. And I know this has been an issue year after year from some of the same sites, concerned about they having now to put their events on the calendar for the fall. So we kind of met them halfway, and we says, well, we won't allow any booking after December 1st, but can you take a look at your events that occur from when school starts through December 1st? But we're still, it's not anything that we have formally written that says to them, you have to get those dates in now for indoor facility use. So I guess I'm kind of wanted to bring up the discussion how you continue to feel about that. I know the high school been well on their way this year, putting all their events in for next year, all their use. It's some of the K-8 sites that are concerned about having to put in their events. Sometimes they don't know what coaches' schedules are. We run into the issue with, Bethany booking a considerable amount of time to try to protect them from that, but then we run into other issues with it. So I kind of wanted to bring back and revisit it. Do we want to continue on that path for the fall and encourage them to put those dates in now up through December 1st?
Do the school sites or administrators that are facing challenges, do they have an alternate proposal? Like, well, okay, this is what you're asking us to do, and it would work a lot better if, or are they just saying, this doesn't work for us?
I've heard this doesn't work for us, but not from all, just from some. So I like your idea of provide me a proposal.
It does work.
Because I thought we kind of had met them halfway by doing it this way and not forcing them to do the whole year, that we met it partway.
Yeah, because if it's a matter of weeks, right, that, okay,
Right.
it's going to take me a few more weeks, then, okay, maybe that's something that's negotiable. But if the idea is, well, we just don't know until, like the second week of school what we're going to need, then I'm kind of like, well, that's not really, I get it, right? I get that it's not a perfect
It's a reoccurring
solution.
concern that I'm hearing. So
And
that's why I said, well, you know what? You said this last year, you said this the year before. I'll bring it up for discussion again. But I did not get from them.
I would like to hear an
I will
alternative
do that.
proposal. If they think
Okay.
there's a better way to do it, I would be interested to hear it.
Okay.
On the other hand, I can understand their concerns too, especially when their staff at this point for next year is not set in stone and there's going to be a lot of change.
Right.
And we probably don't have volleyball schedules yet
That's
or basketball schedules
exactly
for
what
next
they're
year.
running
So
into.
I understand the dilemma that they're in, yet I also understand the dilemma of everybody else who wants to use those facilities. So really, it's almost a catch-22.
Exactly. And that's the same concerns that keep coming back.
And Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I know that we have our tier structure, and, I mean, one option would be to allow people to reserve whatever facility they want, and if the schools then need those facilities, they get bumped, which gives priority to our students and our schools, but that's not, I think, a good relationship
And that's
for
how we used
the
to operate.
nonprofits or whatever.
That
other
We were dealing
organizations.
with
That didn't work.
rescheduling, refunds.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're able to reschedule to a different date, and that works, but
And-
there's just so much time. It's better.
I believe that it's still that way to an extent, is it not?
Yes.
If a
Look
school
at
says,
me.
we need the multi-use room for X, and it's booked, well, we
'Cause I
offer
understand the
alternatives
dare.
to,
When they come with the dare, they don't know what day they're going
Well, a
to.
good example is like basketball, and they make the playoffs. You don't know when that game is going to be. If something's scheduled there, we have to move them somewhere else, for example.
And the organizations, for the most part, have been very, yeah.
I'm not sure how it would work, especially from district staff vantage point, but would something like telling the sites, we'd like to you to have everything up till October 1st in, sometime in June or before they leave for the summer, and then
That's an idea.
so that at least outside organizations can have a small window that they can start with at the beginning of the year, and then have another date, say the second week of school or something,
Right.
to book until Christmas break, or,
Ben, did you have something?
Really, it's forcing us as site administrators to think differently about how we plan. It's not how we've done it in the past, but you know me, I'm not one for just sticking what we've done in the past. It's been hard, but like this year, we're having a big planning meeting coming next week, and we literally, for a week, we now have a poster printed at the high school.
Oh, nice.
Print big posters of each month, and we put them up around our conference room for an entire week. And we say, this is the week you put your items on the calendar for the entire year. Now, there are some stuff that's not going to be able to go on because outside organizations have things to do with that. But as long as we have the latitude at the school to say, look, this is something outside of our control, for example, a playoff game, and maybe that's something that needs to be, maybe we need to define clearly, not like a finite list, but a list of things that might bump people. You know what I mean? Like, we don't want to say, we're going to bump you for anything because we feel like having this meeting on this night.
in other words, some parameters for
Some parameters, like,
what
you
is
will be
bumpable.
guaranteed this, and here's a list of not a comprehensive list, but some of the things that might be are, a last-minute meeting about safety, a playoff game, this, that, or the other, and then they have to know that for these reasons, and maybe some others that we deem necessary, you may be bumped from your thing, because DARE just told us what their days were, or the playoff games just happened, or we had that happen just the other day with a volleyball game, because we're doing boys volleyball playoffs, and an organization came in to use the gym, and they were all put out that we bumped them for 45 minutes or whatever. But I think that as an administrator, is it hard? Yeah. It's not. Is it something I'm not used to doing, planning that far in advance? Sure. But I mean, even at the high school, and if you look at the facilities use things, we're the most used site. Bottom line, we are used constantly. And we will be used even more with all the facilities that we're coming into. But I think that, it does behoove us. Our community supported us with a $56 million bond. We owe it to our community. I've been up here singing a different tune before. And there are still some facilities that I would sing a different tune about and be careful about. But ultimately, we need to make them available for people, and if that means that in May it's another responsibility for site administrators, you do it. It's not. I think that we need to work on the district end with Alvina and Jimmy to establish or share best practices from site to site, like what we're doing. Maybe I share that with other people. Right. I can offer to print posters for them so that they can put them up at their sites, and then teachers and organization, PTA, PTSA, or organizations, parent organizations can come in and put their dates on it. And then everybody knows, okay, here's the dates. Are we done? And then we have a big meeting to discuss that, because ultimately people are gonna overlap, and then we get together and go, well, you pick that day and we really need this day. Can you move your thing to that date? And so that's kind of how we're structuring our ability to get ahead of the game. Now, I know that everything after the fall semester, and as we go into the spring semester, a lot of those sports schedules aren't finalized right now. And sports for us is the big facility user, right? The other thing is speech and debate, winter percussion, all that kind of stuff is dependent on outside organizations setting their calendars for next year. And they're currently, that's the thing, is every organization for next year's school stuff that's going on is creating their calendars right now for the next school year. And so we won't have those dates. And so those are the kinds of things that we need to put on a list that say, you know, academic competitions, organization activities that are outside our control of scheduling need to be listed as things that people are going to get bumped for.
So if the event sponsors, for lack of a better
Right.
term, are working on the calendars for the upcoming year, the administrators don't know that yet. But so my question would be, all right, then is it a matter of we're just trying to get too much done too soon and we need to push that date off by 4 weeks or 3 weeks or something?
The only problem I see with pushing that date out is administrators are gone
Right.
for a window during the summer, and if we don't get them before,
Then
then
we're not- yeah,
we're waiting
yeah.
till right
It's not
before
like us at
school
the high
starts.
school where we're there for summer school all summer long anyway. And
So I'm back to my
Everyone's
initial
leaving.
thought when
Yeah.
you were talking, which is it's not really a policy and procedure issue, I don't think. It's a mentoring the administrators
practices.
and say, look, and I face the same thing as a CFO for a construction company where my project managers want laborers, right? And you can look at a project manager and say, okay, you've got 50,000 hours for a 2,000 hour job just because you want to make sure you've got the right people.
Right.
And it's like, so you can't reserve, I want, Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. till 11 p.m. And, so there's, obviously the administrators out of sheer self-defense are going to take a little bit more than they think they need in terms of reservations.
That's what we
and
ran
then,
into.
and
We kind of encourage them to do that.
that's right. And I would say the same thing, that taking a little bit more than you need just to be sure that the children are served is okay. Taking a lot more than you need because you don't want to go through the rigor of
Right.
kind of thinking it through is probably not.
yes.
And the flip side of cushioning your needs by a little bit is bumping people, more frequently, because, you say, okay, we need exactly this is what we need. And then when you get to it, you realize, well, that doesn't work for us anymore. We need to go an hour later.
Right.
So then you have to bump everybody that was an hour later. And so, there has to be some flexibility with that. But at the same time, the public users of our facilities need to realize that the facilities were built for the district,
Yes.
for our students, and that has to always take precedence.
Instructional use.
Well, and I think that the other thing is, and this happens, outside organizations, when they get told that it's not available, will come to the site to check whether it's being used by the school.
They've called.
And then they will call me or you and say, you didn't let me use the facility
And it's
for
sitting
these
idle.
3 days, and I went to the school on those 3 days and nobody was there using it.
And we've had
What's
to
going
address
on?
those
Yeah.
when because I'm not running to check that every event is happening.
Right.
That we usually will address it with the individual who booked it
Right.
and say, hey, we just got a call from somebody who.
Or they'll come and they'll see that it's being used and there's nothing on the calendar.
Oh, we've had that too.
Yes, uh-huh. Or there's
What?
it somehow gets double booked. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It
So
happened once before. There was a glitch in the
once before, that
software.
happens all the
Happened a couple of weeks ago.
That's like a
And they
weekly
both
thing.
had the certificate for the same, it was a crossover, a single hour. It somehow allowed that 1 hour to over, that was when Lori was doing when that happened. Wow. That was on so, the fall applications window discussion. I guess, I know we had put it under as an action item, but we can come to that part when we get to it. Because it sounds like we were kind of coming up with our own solution of maybe changing the date from December 1st to, I don't
Well,
even
and-
November 1st would work.
and I think,
Would be better, but,
you know, asking the site administrators if they have recommendations for what they think would work better, you know, being cognizant that we have to also look at the needs of the public for use of the facilities.
and that's what we've kind of said in discussions, but it just seems to keep reoccurring.
And I know it's difficult to, you know,
Plan out.
look 6 or 8 months into the future and try to figure things out like that, but
Okay.
it is what it is. Item C, Bethany Field improvement.
So we talked last meeting about the flag football using the Bethany Field. It was making sort of a rut down the center of the field. They agreed to move to a different area of the field. We did some maintenance on the field last week, during spring break. You know, that's where we're at. I'm told that it's not kids playing flag football, that it's adults. Is that correct? Is that-
That's what I heard.
So, I mean, we may have to look at that in the future. Adults playing flag football are gonna tear up the field a lot more than a bunch of little kids, so, because of the weight and everything, and so maybe in the future, I know was told they got kicked out of one of the parks. They used to use one of the parks.
Bethany Park was under reconstruction for a while, so I think that's why they were using.
That why they went to the school?
Normally, the first parks, the priority parks have been Bethany Parks, the one next to the school.
And when I looked at the permit, it wasn't clear to me that it was adults. It didn't really say that, but we did doing some research.
Well, we can collect
It
their,
didn't say that.
we can also
and-
collect their roster, though. I mean, I don't know if the roster would show the birth date.
So just in the future, I may reject some of those permits. I don't think that we should be having adult flag football on our school sites. Just gonna tear the fields up, the grass fields. So just my personal opinion.
So I was taking a look at their financial report, and the Bethany Field facility use collections, that balance is $4,000 or $4,600. I mean, I think it would be appropriate to use some of those funds to pay for the cost of improving that Bethany Field. Isn't that what we're collecting the money for?
Yeah.
So
The
we'll
work
take
we
a
did
look
last night was under the normal contract we have with our main grounds company, so the aerating, the fertilizing and stuff, so it wasn't any
at-
cost
so
to
it
us.
wasn't any- okay.
didn't pay for
Not in
it, but-
addition to. Okay.
And maybe in the future, it sounds like maybe the flag football will be back at the park next year once the maintenance is done at the park. But if not, maybe rotating where, rather than using the same sidelines, if they went
That's an
back and
idea.
forth or something, so that
That's
they,
kind of what we have to do to move, but then you got the start of a second rut, somewhere else on the field as opposed to one you gotta deal with. But yeah, I see what you're saying. But
and, if there is whether it's adult flag football or some other use at any of our facilities that's causing undue wear and tear on the facility, then that needs to be addressed.
Thank you.
All right, high school tennis court bleachers.
So I told Lavinia a month ago, 6 weeks ago, I ordered the bleachers for her for the pool and the tennis courts. I got some numbers to hash out with Alvina. We're gonna arm wrestle, see how much money we have to spend. But we meet tomorrow or Friday?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow. We'll hash it out tomorrow. So I'm asking for a blank check and she's not getting a blank check.
No blank checks.
No blank checks, so.
What about air conditioning the football stadium and enclosing that,
We've been waiting for that.
Ask for a dome.
the dome?
I want like one of those retractable roofs like the Arizona Cardinals have. When it's too hot, they just close the roof.
Or we could put the field on a.
Oh, they roll the
and
grass
slide it out
outside.
and
That's
get it in
true.
the sun and then slide it back in.
That'd be that.
Oh, wow.
No, we're not doing that.
I have to say this, the first time Chase practiced on that field in the heat of the summer,
It's hot.
oh, he came back and wow.
Yeah, well, it's basically like slightly softer pavement.
Oh, wow.
He did say that he ran faster so that he wouldn't get tackled.
He's like, I'm not going down on
Motivation.
that.
What I noticed is my son coming home with pounds of little rubber beads all over him. Facilities Use Handbook, first draft.
So I was thinking on page 14 of 38, which is page 3 of the handbook, we discussed about reasons of having the district have priority use. And the second to the last paragraph actually says the district and its school sites have priority use of Limersville Unified Facilities over outside requests for rental in case of, but then when you look at the list, they're basically district needs, not school site needs. So this might be the location where we would add playoffs, academic competitions, events affected by sponsors. So that might be where we add additional information that allow,
Yeah, and I think we need to word it such that we're not limited to whatever we listed on that list. It could say something along the lines of to include
to include.
the following items or.
Including but not limited to.
Right, that sort of wording, because as I said before, and I've said it at least a million times, our students have to come first, and if that means unfortunately having to bump an outside group, then I'm sorry, but that's what we built the facilities for.
And then the next sentence says, if a conflict occurs, then it says that every effort will be made to provide an alternative district facility, but then it says 30-day advance. Sometimes we're finding
Yeah,
we
that's
can't
too
do it
long.
within 30 days, so I don't know if that's something that we should at least change to 14-day advance.
No, because we said every effort will be made.
That's true.
I mean,
'Cause
we're
30
saying
days
we're
just
gonna
seems
get
like an
to it as
awful lot
quickly
number
as
of
we
days.
can. We're gonna try to give you a 30-day notice, but we never guarantee it.
That's true.
Right.
Then we'll leave that. Okay.
Yeah, I think we, and from my understanding, district staff makes every effort to offer an alternate site or an alternate time or
Right.
whatever is available, so.
Then on page 4, and this idea kind of came up after the fact, Mr. Faubert and I, he mentioned that he's finding at the high school level, events are not just being scheduled the last week of school, but the last 2 weeks of school. So we didn't catch it this year. There are events from other entities that are booked. But we thought maybe of adding the last 2 weeks of school or it does say on the next line, or school-related event days. But if we could block off the last 2 weeks, this district has so many different activities
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
May is
opportunities for
really busy.
the students that,
I didn't realize that we had changed it to the first week and last week. I thought prior to that, I believe it was the first 2 weeks of school and the last 2 weeks of
I
school.
think it was.
It was, yeah.
And then it changed.
Mm.
But now I'm kind of, as we're seeing, it
Looking
didn't
back at
work.
it, maybe it
that we-
wasn't.
It may have been wise to keep it the way it was.
Especially the
because
first
there's-
2 weeks prior.
There is a ton of stuff going on the first two and the last 2 weeks of
So
the,
I mean, that's kind of my recommendation moving forward is changing this draft, change it back to 2.
yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Yep, sounds
I
good.
agree.
Concur?
And then again, that line appears on page 5. Same thing as on page 3. We sometimes try to put phrases in multiple locations because people aren't reading it from cover to cover. So in bold, second to the last paragraph again is about reserving the right to deny. So we'll add the to include but not limited to that as well. And then page 6, again, first 2 weeks, last paragraph, last 2 weeks. So we'll go through the entire document to make sure it's not,
Contradictory?
yes, because that's what we had happen before.
Well, it is no small task to keep everything
Oh,
in
wow.
alignment. So,
Ben, is there anything in here that you thought isn't working? It's come a long way since we started this.
Yeah, it's especially hard to keep everything in alignment in a document like this that is as living as this document has been over the last few years.
Yes.
Lots of changes.
Throughout the document, it does reference the Facilities Use Committee. Are
I
we-
made you change the facility committee, you're correct.
Okay.
Thank you.
And that's in a
Remove
number, and I noticed in a number of places.
Yes.
Also, on page 5, down at the bottom, it references smoking tobacco products, alcohol, drugs, firearms, and explosives are prohibited by law. did the law change a couple of years ago that allows alcohol at some sites? So I think, I
it has
still
to be a
think,
board policy now.
No, I think the law did change. There's a
right,
permit.
so I think our wording should change just to
Yes.
reflect the change in the law. And I think it only applies to alcohol. I don't think it applies to any of those other
The
things.
alcohol would change.
But I still think that it needs to be approved by the board to have alcohol at an event.
how we
But
would
just
word
to
that.
keep it in line with,
I
the
agree.
change in the law.
Yeah, they can have alcohol, as long as there's no students on site at all,
We could just
minors.
change the wording to prohibited by state law and/or board policy or district policy.
That would work.
I like that.
That works. And I think this is also located in multiple places in the document. I guess what I would, I know it's a very long document, but if you kind of browse through it, glance through it,
Could you send the committee an electronic copy of
Yes.
of this so that we can
Or we can Google it and edit it.
leisurely kind of look through it and then we can make notes or
should I
whatever and
do
recommend?
a word so you can track changes? Obviously, we'll have to see the multiple copies coming back, but it'll give us an opportunity.
The Google,
Oh,
yeah.
we could. The only thing I didn't like about Google is the format's gonna change for, because I did that when I first started.
There's a comment, there's a button in the corner that you can push before you start editing where it will track all the changes.
And I have, in fact, this document used to be in there, and it really kind of made a mess of the formatting, so we stopped using it that way.
I
Unless
have,
I just did it just for this purpose, the formatting may look off, but it's the content we're reviewing
Yeah,
anyway.
as long
I'll
as
do
you,
that.
as long as you keep a clean
Oh,
copy
we
somewhere
will
that
keep
you
it
can.
separate. The Word document is separate, but we'll upload a Google, so
Okay.
we can
Okay.
track the changes.
People can just type in ideas and if,
And we'll track the changes.
yeah, we can bring them back and discuss them or whatever.
Perfect.
On page 16 of the policy, page 27 of the board packet,
27.
there's a spreadsheet at the top that has tier 2B and tier 3. And under tier 3, it has 1, 2, 3 for the fees, but it doesn't have a rental fee, a facility rental fee.
It should,
Okay.
yes.
And I noticed tier 2A and 2B have that facility rental fee, but tier 3 doesn't.
They should. Fortunately, it's on the actual fee schedule.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. Yeah.
so I have to go, I apologize, I have to take us back to the comment on smoking, tobacco products, alcohol, et cetera. And forgive my
It's
ignorance.
also on page 8,
I should probably know the answer to this, but tobacco products. Like, if a adult parent of a football player is watching the football game and they have a can of Skoal in their back pocket, that's against the law? Okay.
And if it's in their pocket, not being,
Form on campus at all.
Are there signs on the stadium fences that say that? Okay. Okay.
Okay.
in parentheses, that includes school.
Dogs too.
Dogs. I thought we had a no dogs on.
We do, but
Okay, they still do it.
all the time.
We should have it, we should have it at the top of each page of the facility handbook, no dogs on,
Dogs, I know, that's
on
the
school
Grounds
property.
facilities.
Especially when it's outside organizations.
One thing that drives me crazy about that is, we can say no dogs, but if they're service dogs, they can go anywhere.
That's right.
And all it takes in this day and
Yeah.
age to have a service dog is for the owner to say, this is my service dog, and you can't ask them
Right.
what services they perform or anything else. They just say, this is my service dog, and you have to stop asking.
So what you're saying is dogs are really allowed? I mean, that's,
service
from a
dog.
practical perspective.
Well,
You have a little Yorkie in a sweater, it's your service dog.
On page 14 of the policy, and again, page 25 of the packet, under tier 1, education of district students, number 2, it talks about coaching. Let's see. It's the last sentence, ensuring the facility is cleaned and from which all proceeds go to the school site for use, and at which all labor, including any coaching, is voluntary and not paid. But we do pay our coaches, don't we?
We do.
Yeah,
We
there's a
do.
stipend. Other than the sponsoring school.
So do we need to just delete?
Yeah, I guess I'm confused.
Okay, so tier 1A, I think it's to be tier 1 and to be prioritization. The organization, I'm reading it as the organization should not be paying coaches. It's voluntary and not paid. But our
He was
coaches
talking
are
about
paid, so
the custodial.
tier 1.
Don't they pay stipends for basketball coaches at the
Yeah.
elementary?
Yeah, so,
Volleyball, yeah.
so are we, yeah, so,
Because if you're talking about AAU,
no,
I think
Tier
there,
one is
the
the-
school,
think
the
it's-
school sports
because the
is
first,
tier 1, right?
because the first one would include coaching curricular, co-curricular, and extracurricular school events. That would be for those that are being paid, that coach is being paid.
Right.
Sometimes we do have coaches that are coaching that have gone through the whole process, but they choose to do it voluntarily and not get paid. We don't charge that individual for providing that voluntary service to our kids if they've gone through the whole process to become coaches. So that's where they fall into 2.
But for
We wouldn't
No,
charge
this
them
is
for
tier,
that.
I'm
Tier
still
one,
at, it
number
says
2.
tier 1.
Am I on the wrong page?
Page 14 of the, it says prioritization and fees, and then it says tier 1, education of district students.
And then number 2.
And I'm reading it as saying if they are tier 1, they're not supposed to be paid as coaches. Am I reading it wrong?
I was looking at discussing the
Well,
custodian.
curricular,
confused.
the first point of
Custodial
tier 1, so
costs.
tier 1, sub 1, right?
Yeah,
Is curricular, co-curricular, and extracurricular school events of any official Lambertville Unified District course team, which would also be a sports team, including Lambertville Unified District High School AAU teams or activity group, a participation fee is not charged. So in the case of basketball at the elementary school, even though the coach receives a stipend, it's actually tier 1, sub 1,
Yes.
not
Got-
tier
okay.
1, sub 2.
so
don't
tier 1,
charge them
sub
to-
2 then is, okay.
AAU team that is connected to the school.
Oh, that's confusing, okay.
I'm not sure
Right, because there are AAU teams that are
Oh,
just comprised of high school students.
Right. So
Okay.
that they can practice during the off-season.
Yeah, so they do like summer basketball.
okay,
Yeah.
got it. Thank you, sorry.
Okay, I was, where is she? Well, we'll put this into Google. Feel free to comment, track changes. We'll bring back the tracked document. It may, the format will look off, but the content
Yeah.
will be.
For the old timers that are Googleologically challenged,
I was too.
I'm
Jen
just gonna have
taught
to
me a
get
lot
with the
that.
new century.
Ask
Logically.
one of your kids, they'll know how to do
Yeah,
it.
exactly.
I do. Item 6, action item A, fall application window amendment 3.
I think this is the one that we're going to defer because I'm going to get a request from the administrators on
Okay, so we are tabling.
recommendation. Yes, tabling. Thank you.
Future agenda topics and meeting date.
So I have a new item. I was out meeting with the baseball coaches at Mount House High School right before spring break, look at the field stuff, and they asked me about getting a tough shed to place behind third base dugout, home dugout. I printed out a Google map. You can't really see on there where it's going, but the fence jogs out about 8 feet, and there's a little nook in there where a shed would fit fine. I don't know the process exactly, if the principal approves it, if I approve it, if the committee approves it, I don't know. In other districts, I just say, yes, get it, and it's done, but I don't want to do that here without asking people,
We have a facility committee now.
because of the committee
What
and
goes
the
on our
principal.
facilities?
I don't know what the process is, that's why I'm bringing it up. I don't have a problem with it. I told them if they paint it the school colors so it matches, it looks like it blends in. I don't see an issue with it. I don't know if the principal has an issue with it. I don't know if the committee has an issue with it. That's why I'm bringing it up, so.
I don't see any issue with it if it's not, is it something they're wanting to do right away, or is it,
It sounds like it, yeah.
all right?
I don't know. I don't know the procedure, that's all I'm asking.
Okay. I don't see an issue with it if it doesn't,
Here it comes.
if it doesn't,
It's something that's done on every school campus I've ever worked on.
And that's what I
You go
told
to
them.
Amador, you see those tough sheds everywhere.
And that's what I told
Sea
them.
containers, tough sheds, they paint
Well,
them the colors of the school.
I shot down the sea container. I thought those
Yeah.
are not pretty ugly, but I thought a decent looking tough
Well,
shed
in
that's
that, in
painted.
that area, it wouldn't look good.
Yeah.
Because it's,
If it's painted the blue and white
Yeah.
and maybe put the baseball logo on the side of it, I think it would look fine
yeah.
there.
I mean, just by way of, we're gonna need more storage as we grow our programs, not just sports, but think of theater. And the amount of props that they'll have to store in the future and costumes and things like that.
Basically, what they're
So-
doing now is using the dugout. They're keeping all their
a mess.
rakes and drags and everything's locked in that dugout. That's essentially their storage shed. So it's not an ideal situation where a tough shed would make more sense.
Yeah.
So
It gets weathered sitting out there, it, blows around, it's unsightly.
What do they cost?
they're going to pay for it.
Oh, they are.
I-
I missed
See,
that part.
I knew
have
Albina's
ASB
first question.
I do not know the answer to this question, and I'm going to ask it anyway. Does something like that need any approvals? I know if you get beyond a certain size, you're probably going to need DSA.
No, it's
approvals and-
way below the square footage for DSA approval.
Yeah.
Because
And
I
it's-
know
It's
the only-
non-permanent, it's semi-permanent kind of thing.
The main reason I ask is that I saw a story on the news, a booster group around one of the Sacramento area high schools got permission from the district to put a storage facility. And it was supposed to be 8 by 10 or something, and they had it all figured out. Well, as they're building it, it grew from 8 by 10 to 30 by 40.
Oh,
Yeah,
my
no,
gosh.
And it caused a firestorm from, they didn't get the right permits, they didn't get the right permissions, and on and on. And I just, I'm not aware what the DSA
Right.
square footage requirements or permanent versus temporary
Yeah.
or semi-permanent or whatever. I just wanted to make sure that all those things are being considered before.
It's exempt from DSA approval
Okay.
because of the size of it. A 30 by 40 would not be exempt. It's 1,200 square feet. That's way over the.
Same thing happened in Amador probably 8 or 9 years ago where they were built, they decided, they got permission from the district and the booster club started building a roof over the batting cages. And they got the poles up and they started putting the wood up and somebody saw it from the street and it was stopped for 8 months and it had to go to DSA approval and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, we don't want to get into that, that's for sure.
No.
So if it's a donation, it would come forward to the board as a donation,
Right.
the cost estimate.
I mean, I'll take care of all that stuff. I
And-
just wanted,
and
if it's approved, I'll talk to the coach and we'll
It's
get it.
typically
going
just a
forward.
consent
Right, it's a
item.
consent item on
It's
the
on your board
donations.
packet.
It's this for this site, this estimated price.
Right.
I'll take care of it.
Thank you.
Meeting date.
Let's break out the calendars.
I know Ben likes Wednesdays,
Okay,
but we don't want it to affect
the board meeting.
board meetings. May 31st, it's a Wednesday, but we have a board meeting May 3rd, May 17th, June 7th, June 19th, and June 21st.
Okay, let's see.
Are any of the other meetings scheduled for May 31st? I know DAC is not. DLAC, I don't think so.
I'm not aware of any,
Grant,
I don't see anything on my calendar on either May 24th or 31st.
Okay. We have District Advisory Committee on May 24th. That would not work for me.
31st looks good.
Yeah, it is 2 days
That's
before the end of
probably good
school.
because school will already be winding down and done and
No,
31st?
I agree.
The 31st
The
is the week
31st?
after school is out. I don't know if that's an issue for anyone.
Not from us, I don't, Rita and I usually put the packets together. We'll be working on this. By then, we'll have your revisions, or suggested revisions to the handbook.
First, yeah.
I'm
I'll put
okay
it
with
down.
May 31st.
That's fine with me.
May
May
31st.
31st,
May
okay.
31st.
June is going to be tough for me. I'm going to not be around most of it, I hope.
Does the facilities committee meet through the summer?
Yes.
We skipped last year,
Did we skip
July,
July?
I
Yeah, we
thought.
skipped July, we did.
Okay.
And it's kind of a free-flowing thing if we have business to take care of. In fact, we've scheduled 2 meetings in a month a few times when
Right.
we
In
had,
December, I believe we skipped also.
I think we
We
did.
did.
So there are times when we skip a month.
Last year, June, we had 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's what he was saying.
June we met twice and we
Okay.
skipped July.
But I don't think we'll require 2 in June. If we have one May 31st, we'll have those revisions that you guys. Because the handbook will go to the board on June 19th. No, wrong month, June 21st.
Very good stuff.
Unless anybody has anything else, we can adjourn at 7:22. And I guess I
Yes.
should have,
Thank you, everybody.
given a pause before I said unless anybody has anything else.
Hi, I think most of you know me, I'm Patrick Martins from Mountain House.
You want to come up to the podium, please?
Did you turn it off already? Okay, good. It's still running.
Hi, I'm Patrick Martins from Mountain House Girls Softball, most of you know me. I know it's not on the agenda tonight, but maybe at the next Facility Use Committee meeting. And I'm not sure how to do this, but I'd like to propose a modified request from what I had made several months ago about using the high school softball field in the fall for Mountain House Girls Softball. Previously, I had asked for the sun, the moon, and the stars to use it all season. Why not?
That's what Ben does.
You shoot for the moon, right? No harm. But of course, the committee felt that maybe that was not the right thing at the time for various reasons. Fair enough. My modified request would be, could we maybe play our games on Saturdays during the fall at the high school field? And we're talking approximately 9 Saturdays. And then in the first half of our season, which starts after Labor Day, there are 2 midweek games the first 4 weeks of our season, which runs until, I think, the second week of October. So we'd be talking about a total of 9 Saturdays, assuming no rain, of course. 9 Saturdays, in which there are 2 or 3 games, depending on the schedule. So I don't have the number in front of me. It's probably close to 21 games on Saturdays in total. Actually, more than that. It would be, I know 3 is 27, so it'd probably be more like 25, 24 games over 9 Saturdays. And then over 4 weeks, times a Tuesday and a Thursday, that would be maybe another 7 or 8 games. So in total, we're probably talking about 32 games total, 9 Saturdays, 4 Tuesdays and 4 Thursdays. And then, of course, in the middle of the week with daylight, disappearing rapidly, we have to forego that. To be honest, I think obviously it'd be a great ad for the league, be a great attraction for us to be able to build our program. And like I've mentioned before, we do have an ambition to build out the program to include older girls. If I had my sun, the stars, and the moon, in a perfect scenario, we'd be able to build out a program in 2 or 3 years where our Mountain House girls played some form of travel ball in the fall. Mountain House High School girls, excuse me, play some kind of travel ball in the fall as a way to continue to groom our talent base. And that's not a particularly novel idea. I'm not clever enough to have thought that on my own. Others are doing that. So
Others in our league are doing that.
yeah, that's true. And in Kimball they do that. So anyway, that's sort of way out there. At the very least, if there's an opportunity, if there's something that's needed from me, maybe some formal proposal. I apologize, I'm not familiar with the protocol here. And I'm a little hoarse from screaming at practice and a little sweaty at the same time, so I will forego hugs for each of you today.
Thank you.
Understood.
You're welcome.
I would suggest maybe coming up with, maybe not a formal proposal, but a semi-formal proposal, and presenting it to district staff, and they can evaluate the availability of things and that sort of stuff.
Sure.
And then maybe we can try to get it on the next agenda for you to come and present it.
That would be great. Should I start with Rita on that?
Yeah, that would work.
Excuse me. So of course, that's September and it's only April, so we've got lots of time to think
It's
about.
good that you came today.
Sweaty and all, I appreciate that, thank you. Yeah, and I realize that this is not the way it's done, but I appreciate your giving me a few minutes of your time.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thanks for
So
coming.
I'll start with Rita, and then I assume Rita will let me know if it's on the agenda for next time or whenever.
All right,
Sounds good.
Thank you very much.
thank
For
you.
coming, Patrick.
Yeah.
Should I vote no now, or what is it?
Board, I have all my daughter's season highlights on my laptop. I really am quite the OCD guy. I do look at film. Don't take your son. Okay. Maybe when you're less busy, okay.
Yeah.
no worries.
Are we done? Now we can adjourn. 7:27.
Thanks, everybody.